It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loop machine.
Welcome back to another BCSN conversation. This time we're going to change it up a little bit. Instead of talking to a head coach of one of our sports, we're going to talk to the people who put the information out. Today from Norfolk State University, Assistant Sports Information Director, Mike Bello. Mike, how are you doing today? How's your family, and how's everything going on campus, especially in this COVID-19 situation?
I'm doing good, just hanging in there. My family and I just hanging in there. It's obviously been tough because you don't get to see them too often. They're all out of town from where I live, so it gets a little tough there. But doing as well as can be, and school here has been pretty good. They actually just are starting finals right now, so a lot of the students are finishing finals. Going to be heading home soon, so it's going to be a little bit of quiet around here until everyone kind of really gets back. Besides basketball, everyone gets back around beginning of January, and then it's going to really hit the fan at that point when all these sports really start back up.
All right, Mike. Now, I know what the SID normally does throughout the school season, but what has been different about being a sports information director this particular season in this COVID environment that we're in?
The hardest part is just basically you're so used to having a schedule. Football preseason starts up in August, and then you flow right into football and volleyball season, then basketball season after that, and then you get into the spring sports, baseball, softball after that. So you're so used to that schedule that when you didn't have the sports, it's so tough to know what do you do at that point. And you're trying to still create content, trying to still keep people engaged through social media and get the content out there on the website. Keep people updated on what the teams are doing, video wise and everything. It just was so hard because I've been doing this for at least 12 years now, and it was such a change of what we're normally so used to doing. It was just, how do you adjust to that? And it was a tough adjustment for sure.
All right, and I know you cover volleyball, softball, men's basketball, bowling, and tennis. Do I have them all correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Let's go back into March of this year. Mm-hmm. Softball obviously got shut down. Tennis got shut down back during the spring. How imperative do you think it is, especially for those student athletes, because I know you have to correspond with those athletes, that they actually get this season in 2021 and get to play this year versus, there's a possibility we may still not be out of this crisis and have to shut things down again in 21. How important do you think that is for them?
It's very important. Talking to the coaches around here, the players need that. Their identity is it's a student and athlete, but the athlete part is a big part of their identity. And they're so used to being able to practice and play when that's taken away from them, and when they can't do that, and over the summer they couldn't do anything. A lot of them couldn't. So when you can't do that, it really does affect them on the mental aspect of it. It really is tough for them. It's kind of basically like taking something that they're so passionate about and taking it away from them. And I think that's why the fall was so good, because when I was out there at practices, you could just see the student athletes. I mean, it was so therapeutic for them to be out there practicing, even though they're not playing games, but just to be out there practicing, doing what they love, being around their teammates. Obviously the social distance part of it was a little tougher there, but it was so therapeutic for them. And if stuff doesn't happen in the spring, it is going to be tough for them. Hopefully they can at least still do the practices and stuff. At least they'll still be here on campus, being able to practice, but not having games, it's going to be really tough for them. if it gets to that point.
All right. Now, one of the toughest jobs that you've probably had is generating content during this whole crisis. How tough is it? And give us an example of some of the creative things that you've done that you normally would not do as far as getting content out for your university and the student athletes at your university.
You know, there was still content there. You know, in October, we did a story about our volleyball coach who had overcome breast cancer years ago. Of course, October is breast cancer awareness month. So you really kind of look for those type of things that maybe you couldn't always necessarily get to when you're busy in the season. There was still a lot of stories coming out, but the biggest thing is just, you know, we highlighted a student athlete every week on Wednesday. We did a student athlete spotlight. So we highlighted a student athlete who was excelled academically and athletically, just a little graphic that says, hey, you know, student athlete spotlight on this player, you know, she's got a 3.9 GPA and congratulations to her. And you're looking for that type of stuff that, like I said, you normally wouldn't get to because you're so busy with preparing for the next game and everything that comes out during the week, the normal stuff that comes out. But, you know, doing stuff like that, we did a lot of like on this date, you know, did some research for football and volleyball, you know, on this date. And, you know, 30 years ago, we beat, you know, Hampton University and won the MEAC or won the CIAAs, you know, something like that. So we're always looking for that type of content, and just a lot of it was just highlighting the stuff that our programs have done over the years that we don't normally talk about because you're so busy with the current and the now, you know, highlighting what they've done over time and just kind of giving people a history of what's gone on here.
Yeah. You mentioned the story about your volleyball coach. Any other intriguing stories that you put out during this time that people may want to go on to the Norfolk website and look at?
Yeah, well, there's one story that's actually not on our website, but it was put out through the media. You had to find it on the on pilotonline.com. They did a story about our volleyball player. One of our volleyball players led an initiative to for voting to get people registered to vote, specifically student athletes. She's part of the student athlete advisory committee. So she worked with the campus, you know, the campus side to get student athletes to register to vote. And that was a big thing for her. And that really was played up big in the media. She got on, it's called like, it was a Essence, as like a Pepsi/Essence. They did a virtual kind of celebration and she was part of that as well. So that was a big one there. If you Google Simone Thomas, you know, NSU volleyball, you'll find the stories. Those hits are out there, and she was that was a big one for her.
All right. One of the things that's come out was about the Board of Visitors meeting. I'm not going to get too deep into it because you may or may not be able to comment on it. But, you know, anything that you could throw out there, for those who are not familiar, the Board of Visitors had a meeting, I believe it was at the end of October, considering the three options that Norfolk has for the future. Anything that you could put out there in general on that specific topic?
You know, I can't comment specifically on anything they talked about, obviously. The only thing I can really say is that, and we heard it from some people, that it was just literally them saying, here are some options if it ever gets to this point. You know, here are our options. So it wasn't anything like they are planning on doing something or anything like that. It was literally just saying, you know, preparing for the future, you got to prepare for no matter what could happen. And these are our options, but we're not trying to make any imminent changes right now or trying to make any decisions on anything. And you know, we're happy in the MEAC. So it's just you know, you never know what the future could hold. So we got to be prepared, but don't read anything more into it than just talking about what's the possibilities, and that's it.
And that's kind of what I took for. It's just a common sense thing. Hey, you got to look at all sides of the picture here, and just to let everybody know we are doing our homework. That's kind of what that statement looked like to me. Nothing earth-shattering was coming out of it at that point in time. So
no, certainly not. And of course, we are very happy in the MEAC. So you know, we're not trying to leave the MEAC, you know, or anything like that. But you know, you still have to be able to plan for what the future could hold. You never know what the future could hold. So,
speaking of the MEAC, MEAC recently came out with their all-time football list. You know, they're trying to cut it down to the 50 greatest players in MEAC history. There were a couple of Norfolk players on that particular list? And this was a twofold question. Number one, I've talked to an SID or two, and they were, not quite as happy with the selection process of the people who were chosen from their institution, thinking that they did not have quite the input that they could have had as a SID into that process, into the nominees from their particular school, number one. And number two, if you could, just talk about a couple of those athletes that were nominated from Norfolk State University for that list.
Yeah, I know I can't remember exactly everyone that was on that list. It's been a while since I voted on it, but I remember we had, I know for sure we had Terrell Whitehead and Lyndon Trail. They were two of our, they've been 3-time All-Americans since we've been in the MEAC. They were on that list. Those guys are, to me, I think are worthy. And I think the MEAC had a hard, I don't fault the MEAC. That's really tough to try to come up with a list like that. I believe they narrowed it down to,
it was 149 on the list that was put out, and they're going to cut that from 149 to 50.
Yeah, and it's tough because you're trying to think of all the players over the years, and how do you really differentiate without having hundreds and hundreds of names on there? How do you differentiate? So you start with players that are in Hall of Fames, players that were Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, like major award winners. You really have to kind of pare it down from there. And I think the biggest, what you're talking about with the SIDs, is I think there was maybe a few that were All-Americans. They never were a big award winner, never got into a Hall of Fame, anything like that, but they were, All-Americans and stuff. And I think that those people should have been included. And I believe they were. MEAC did update the list before the preliminary list that we had compared to what people were voting on. There was some names in there that were added, and I think that helped. But I mean, again, it's a tough. There's the football history is so rich that it's tough to narrow that down and tough to really include everyone, even on the original. Here's 150 people to choose from.
Gotcha. You cover volleyball. Any word on when the top volleyball players in MEAC history are going to be coming out? Any information on that?
I believe that volleyball, and because we voted on volleyball, cross country, and football, those should all be coming out in the next few weeks. So keep an eye on that, either before or after Thanksgiving here. They'll be trying to release those to get those going. And of course, the other sports, we will, the MEAC is actually going to release those as the season progresses. So, basketball will be released. We voted and released towards the end of basketball season. Same thing with the spring sports. Baseball, softball will be voted and released towards the end of the spring sports season. So, but those three, the fall sports, should be released here in the next few weeks.
All right. I'll tell you what, Mike, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, and then coming back after this break, we're going to get into the sport that's in season now, which is basketball. So Mike Bello, Sports Information Director from Norfolk State University. We'll be right back after these messages.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Even though there is so much against us, you will see me wearing a face covering.
And even with my face covered,
you will see me
as a son,
as a friend to everyone I meet,
as a fighter for change,
as a woman who stands up for what I believe in.
So join me in wearing a face covering
to help stop the spread of the coronavirus.
Because this is one small act of kindness that has the power to bring us all together.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app. as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Welcome back to BCSN Conversation. Mike Bello, Assistant Sports Information Director for Norfolk State University, the Spartans, the green and gold Spartans. And one of the primary sports that he covers is men's basketball. So we're going to get into it. It's basketball season. So, Mike, let's start off with this. Give us a recap of last season for those who don't necessarily follow Spartan basketball.
Well, Spartans finished tied for second in the regular season with A&T. Of course, Central won the regular season title. It was one of those where you kind of started off, preseason, or we call it preseason. The coach calls it preseason, but the non-conference play, kind of had to get into the flow of everything. We had a new team last year. There's a lot of new players, so it took them a while to really gel. But then you really saw them gel towards the end of MEAC play, regular season. They really started to come together, and they were really confident going into the MEAC tournament. And of course, unfortunately, we couldn't even play the first game in the MEAC tournament. The day we were supposed to play was the infamous day of everything shutting down. So, the last regular season game was their last game of the year. I know that's been was very difficult for them, not even getting a chance to even step foot into the Scope Arena to play a game. So. But they had a lot of momentum going in there, and they did lose a couple of pieces, but they're looking to kind of continue that momentum as the season starts.
All right, and a couple of players who were on that team were not be back this year. Jermaine Bishop, graduation, he was first team All MEAC. Stephen Whitley, graduated, he was third team All MEAC, and Spirit Ricks lost. What do you think the loss of them will mean to this upcoming team? How important were they to last year's team, to their program in general?
They were very important. You don't lose two all-conference players and just say, "Oh, okay, let's move on." That's not easy to do. And Bishop was one of the best players in the league, and Whitley was a consistently good player as well in the league, consistently great player in the league. And that's tough. Bishop was a scorer. He was a three-point shooter. So you lose in that, and Whitley was kind of like the floor general, the point guard. So you lose in that. So that's not easy to replace. But there's a couple players. We had a couple preseason player, all MEAC players, DEVANTE Carter and Joe Bryant. It's one of those. They're ready to step up. They played the role of Robin last year to those guys a lot of times. Now they're ready to be Batman. So it's just the next man up mentality, and it's how it's always been here. And a player plays his role 1 year, and then all of a sudden he's the star player the next year, and that's just kind of how it is.
You mentioned Bryant and Carter. What other players do you have that are coming back that are expected to make an impact for the team that you cover?
Well, any player coming back, the big one is, well, not big one, but another one is TYRESE Jenkins. He was MEAC All-Rookie team last year. He had his ups and downs as a freshman. Every freshman does, but you kind of saw during MEAC play, he really kind of to take that next step, started to contribute a lot more. So I think he's one that they're really kind of looking out for. Excuse me. Kashawn Hicks is another one who kind of provided a little bit of three-point shooting, so they're hoping that he can add some more three-point shooting, and a couple of big guys down low, Chris Ford, Extradios Caloyerius. They're upperclassmen now, so. What are they? They're the big men down low. So, we really need that post presence. So they've taken a next step. They've gotten bigger, they've gotten stronger. Their understanding of the offense is better. So, there are two more as well that could really see their production go up this year.
All right. And of course, obviously your coach had to get out and recruit. Talk about some of the newcomers, JUCO players, D1 transfers, freshmen. Talk about the newcomers.
Yeah, well, we have 4 newcomers right now. One freshman walk-on, local product. He's a point guard. But we also have 3 Division I transfers. The big name that you'll probably hear a lot is J.J. Matthews. He was a forward. He came from Arkansas State. You know, he really provides that post presence that we necessarily haven't had. You know, he definitely has all MEAC capability. So I think he will be a big name to watch out for. And the two other D1 transfers are guards, JALEN HAWKINS and MUSTAFA Lawrence. MUSTAFA came from Fresno State. JALEN came from Robert Morris. MUSTAFA Lawrence is kind of a sort of, you could say, a Swiss Army knife. He does a little bit of everything. He can shoot. He can play point. So he'll probably contribute a good amount. He'll probably vie for a starting, if not the starting spot, or at least the first guy off the bench. And then JALEN HAWKINS as well. He's a name to watch out for. He was he's kind of a point guard as well. He can shoot a little bit, but he's a point guard, and so he'll be another name to kind of watch out for with those guards, along with Carter and Bryant and Jenkins. So we really do have a very good guard team this year with those guys.
All right, excellent. Tell everybody a little bit about your head coach and a little bit of background about him, so people understand about the coach there at Norfolk State.
Yeah, Robert Jones. He's actually entering his 8th year as a head coach here. He spent 6 years before that as the assistant coach under the previous coach, Anthony Evans. So Jones was here as an assistant coach when we won the MEAC tournament in 2012. Of course, the famous upset of Missouri. Won the regular season the following year, and then Evans left to go to FIU, and Jones took over. So he's very familiar with the program. He's been here 14 years now, and you know, he started off. He played Division III basketball up in New York, where he's from. You know, coached at the high school level, and then he and Evans knew each other through their time there. He and Evans were familiar with each other, and when Evans got the job here, he asked Rob to come down, and Rob's been here ever since, and he's grown as a head coach. His success level is keep going up and up, and you know, we love to have him here, but we know that his future is very bright, and we don't know how long we're going to be able to keep him until another bigger program says, hey, we got to hire this guy.
Gotcha. All right, we're gonna get ready to get you out of here on this. Anything that I did not ask you that you feel that you need to bring out about your university, about any of the sports that you cover? Floor is yours.
You know, I think the biggest thing is this is just a very trying time for everyone, and you know, it's trying for the coaches, it's trying for the staff, it's trying for the players especially, and we don't know what the future holds. You know, you can see that this pandemic is getting worse right now, and it's getting as worse as it's ever been. You know, we're getting into flu season, you know, and everyone wants to get back to a sense of normalcy, and we can't get to that point right now, but everyone is doing the best they can. Everyone is trying to get through. Everyone wants to get to that point where, okay, let's play sports. Let's get to what we love doing. We wouldn't be doing this in athletics if we didn't love it. If the players didn't love playing, if the coaches didn't love coaching, if the staff didn't love doing what they were doing, if I didn't love doing what I do as sports information. So it's one of those where, you know, we're just working every day to get through it. And the biggest thing that we've tried to tell people is, you know, help support HBCU sports. It doesn't have to be, you know, it can be a monetary donation to programs. It can be, you know, just help, you know, following with the content and retweeting and liking stuff, and then just, you know, help, and just anything like that, just to say, you know, these sports matter, these players matter. Let's support them as best we can, whether it's monetarily, whether it's following along, you know, whether it's whatever, we're sharing anything. Just that's all we ask for, is just to, you know, keep helping us get through this, and we'll be, you know, better than we've ever been when this is all done.
All right, now this last thing should be real easy for you because you're the sports information director. Tell everybody where we can follow them at on the internet, the social media handles, et cetera, where they can send the checks to. We, you know, tell all that information for Spartan Sports.
Well, if you head to our website, nsuspartans.com, that is where you'll find everything there. And we actually are doing a donation drive. If you go to nsu.edu/supportathletics, that's nsu.edu/supportathletics, in conjunction with our alumni relations office, We're doing a student athlete scholarship drive till December 1st. So, you can donate however much you want, $1, $5, $50, $1,000, $10,000 if you have it. We're doing that right now, but if you go to NSUSpartans.com, everything is there. You can follow us on Twitter, that's NSU Spartans, the same as our website, NSUSpartans.com, and Twitter is NSU Spartans. You can follow us on Instagram on NSU Athletics. You can follow us on YouTube as well at Norfolk State Athletics. NSU Athletics on YouTube, and as well as on Facebook, Norfolk State Athletics. But again, all those links are on the front of our website. So any way you want to follow us, go to our website, and it's right there.
All right. Mike Bello, Assistant Sports Information Director from Norfolk State University. We thank you for your time, sir. Mask up and continue the hard work that you do.
But thank you guys for having me. If you ever need anything from us, you know where to find us. We're always available for you guys.
All right, we appreciate you, Mike.
Thanks.
And for Mike Bello, this is AD Drew from the Black College Sports Network, and we'll see you next time with another BCSN conversation.
Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports Network. Follow the Black College Sports Network on social media at MyBCSN1, the number 1, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MyBCSN1.
Industry was hurting, but I done bandaged her up. Now I got too sick with it. Now we done found us an abrupt sound. Look, I be tearing the speakers up and we shaking the whole ground. Found pros in this profession, we calling that profound. Studio in every city, I'm calling that yo town. Some of these words that I'm using make me wanna throw down, but I got humbled in my veins and learned to tone it down. Major league when I'm pitching, I'm needing the pitchers, man. Shake the room with my powers and knocking the pitches down. Trying to teach you business first and put your pitches down. Major.